Let's head to the African savanna. We're talking vast grasslands, iconic acacia trees, and, well, one of the most amazing gatherings of big animals anywhere on planet Earth. But all that life, all that biodiversity, it actually creates a really deep scientific puzzle.
I mean, just look at this scene. You've got elephants, zebras, wildebeest, giraffes, a whole bunch of huge herbivores, all sharing the same space, and all seemingly eating the same stuff, grass and leaves. It's an incredible sight for sure, but if you're an ecologist, it's also kind of baffling.
And that really is the big question for us today. How in the world do all these different species manage to live side by side, sharing a pretty limited menu without just outcompeting each other into extinction? It seems to break a very basic rule of nature.
And that rule has a name: the competitive exclusion principle. The idea is pretty simple, right? If you have two different species fighting for the exact same food in the exact same spot, one of them is eventually going to win and the other one, well, it's going to lose out and disappear. So based on that, the savanna just shouldn't work. Something else has to be going on here. So let's start digging for some clues.
Okay, so the first and maybe the biggest clue to cracking this case is something that's actually pretty obvious: body size. The fact that these animals range from a relatively small gazelle all the way up to a massive elephant isn't just a coincidence. No, it's fundamental to how this whole system works.
And this whole idea is wrapped up in something called the Jarman-Bell principle. You can think of it as the secret rule book for the savanna's all-you-can-eat buffet. It connects an animal's size directly to its diet, and it all comes down to the relationship between how fast its engine runs, its metabolism, and how big its fuel tank is, its gut.
So here's how it breaks down. Smaller animals have really fast metabolisms, but tiny little stomachs. They need to eat the good stuff, energy-packed, high-quality food that's easy to digest, but they can't eat a ton of it. On the other hand, the huge animals have slower metabolisms for their size and absolutely massive digestive systems. That lets them get by on eating enormous amounts of low-quality, tough, fibrous plants that a smaller animal just couldn't handle. They're basically trading food quality for sheer quantity.
And you can literally see the physical evidence for this right here. It turns out there's an almost perfect link between an animal's body weight and how wide its front teeth are. A bigger body means a bigger mouth, which is designed to just shovel in huge mouthfuls of that tough, low-quality grass. A smaller, more delicate mouth is way better at carefully picking out just the most nutritious little leaves and shoots. They're not just different sizes, they have completely different hardware for the job.
But you know, in biology, it's never quite that simple. Body size is a huge piece of the puzzle, for sure, but it isn't the whole story. We've got to look a little deeper, at a layer of adaptation that's completely hidden from view.
So what happens when you get animals that are roughly the same size, like a zebra and a wild beast? If size was the only thing that mattered, they'd be in a constant battle for food. This is where our next clue comes in. We have to look inside, at their guts, because their internal engines are built in totally different ways.
Most of these herbivores fall into one of two groups. You've got your ruminants, like a wildebeest. They have this incredibly complex, multi-chambered stomach. Think of it like a hyper-efficient fermentation factory that squeezes every last drop of nutrient out of their food. Then you have the non-ruminants, like a zebra. Their system is much simpler. It's less efficient, yeah, but they make up for it by just processing food way, way faster. It's kind of like a super efficient hybrid car versus a big dump truck. One is all about efficiency, the other is all about high volume.
And this is where it gets really cool. That difference on the inside leads to totally different behavior on the outside. Those super efficient ruminants, like the wildebeest, they tend to be picky eaters, real specialists. They focus their grazing on specific areas that have just the right kind of high-quality grass. But the non-ruminants, the high-throughput guys like zebras and warthogs, they can be generalists. Since they can handle lower-quality food, they can use a much wider variety of habitats.
So even when you see them grazing right next to each other, like this, the wildebeest and the zebra are actually playing two completely different games. The wildebeest is carefully searching for those patches of really good grass, while the zebra is perfectly happy munching on the taller, tougher stuff right next door. They're dividing up the resource, each specializing on a different part of the buffet. That's how they avoid stepping on each other's toes.
Okay, so far we've only talked about the pressure of finding food, what scientists call bottom-up forces. But there's another, equally powerful force shaping this whole system from the top down, and that's the constant nagging threat of being eaten. This adds a whole new dimension to our puzzle. For any herbivore out there, life is just one long trade-off. The best restaurant in town, the spot with the tallest, densest, most abundant grass, also happens to be the perfect hiding spot for a predator like a lion. So what's good for your stomach can be really, really bad for your survival. Scientists have this amazing term for this phenomenon, the ecology of fear. And it means that the simple risk of being attacked is just as powerful in shaping animal behavior as hunger is. Fear itself changes where animals are willing to go and what they're willing to do. It becomes another way the environment gets divided up.
And no surprise here, body size is crucial once again. If you're a small grazer, a lot of different predators see you as a potential meal. So for you, job one is safety. You need to find good food, sure, but you need to find it in open areas where you can see danger coming from a mile away. But if you're a massive grazer like a buffalo or a rhino, not much is going to mess with you as an adult. Your main worry is just getting enough calories, so you can afford to wander into those riskier but food-rich areas.
All right, so we've gathered all our clues: body size, digestive systems, and the ecology of fear. Now it's time to put all the pieces together and finally see how this great savanna puzzle gets solved.
And here it is. This is the big picture, the solution to the whole mystery. As you can see, it really all starts with body size. That one factor influences both an animal's food requirements and its risk of being eaten by a predator. From there, the path splits again based on their digestive strategy. Are they a super efficient ruminant or a high-throughput non-ruminant? Each of these paths leads to a unique strategy, a unique way of life that allows each species to carve out its own little role, its own niche in the ecosystem. It's a process called niche partitioning, and it is the secret to the savanna's amazing, harmonious diversity.
So at the end of the day, that's the big takeaway here. The reason the savanna can support so much life isn't because of one simple rule. It's a beautiful, complex dance between body size, gut biology, and the constant fear of predators. All these factors weave together to create this incredible mosaic of niches where all these magnificent animals can thrive. But it's a system that's also incredibly fragile. And today, that fragile balance is facing threats it's never seen before. Overgrazing from livestock introduces new competition. Climate change is causing more droughts, changing the plants they rely on. And as human populations grow, we're shrinking their habitats. All of these things attack the one ingredient essential for this to work: the variety in the landscape, what scientists call heterogeneity.
Which really leaves us with one final and pretty urgent question. This intricate dance of coexistence was shaped over millions of years of evolution. It created one of the greatest natural spectacles on Earth. And now we have to ask, can this delicate balance, which has endured for so long, possibly survive us?